What's up, Story Geeks? Special live show. We just had to talk about D23, we kind of are cramming this into our schedule because we got another podcast coming up right after this one, but we wanted to make sure we get through some of this news. You guys remember producer Freddie. He's in studio. He was at D23. He saw everything there was to see. Also, you should go check his Instagram. What's your Instagram?
At Freddie from Batu.
At Freddie from Batu. BATUU.
You got it.
Yeah. So go check that out. But he's going to walk us through some of the stuff that he learned at D23, and then he and I are just going to react to some of it. So what are we looking at, Freddie?
Okay, so D23 is, if you don't know what it is, it's basically Disney's version of Comic-Con. It's a massive convention for Disney superfans. Started in 2009. I've been going for the last 3 D23s. It's biannual, so every 2 years they have one. So here in 2019, they had a lot to cover. On the first day, which was Friday, the big panel that day was the Disney Plus panel.
I'm super excited about Disney Plus.
Oh yeah,
and you're representing because you got your hat on.
Oh yeah, free hat to everyone who was in the audience. It was a case where in previous D23s, Friday had always been Disney Animation,
got it,
and Pixar, and so that had been pushed into Saturday. So for me, it was the sort of like going in. Okay, you better make it worth it for me.
Oh, okay.
And with Disney Plus, it's especially for Bob Iger and for the company in general, this is the biggest move. This is the biggest thing they could possibly do.
Oh, it's huge.
You know, it's them going up against Netflix. It's them moving into distribution, not just making all their content, but putting it directly into your devices.
And it's a big risk too.
Oh yeah. The amount of money that they're spending on this content is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
They opened it up with like High School Musical, and they were talking about all these old things. It's really a push towards millennials, especially. So it's like all the old Disney Channel content. Let's do reboots of it. Let's go over all this stuff.
Yeah.
For most of us, I think what's going to be the most important thing is The Mandalorian.
Oh, The Mandalorian. So I have a question for you really quick. We talked about The Mandalorian. Are you episode 9 Mandalorian? Which one are you more hyped about?
Definitely episode 9.
Really?
Definitely. Yeah. Mandalorian, while being definitely more of a spiritual successor to the original trilogy, if you watch the trailer and if you got to look at the content that they had at Star Wars Celebration, it's really close to the original trilogy.
Yeah.
Even their starships, when they're filming them flying through space or through different scenes, they're actual physical models that they're filming up against a blue screen, just like they did for the original trilogy. So you're using older technology. You're really getting back to basics. John Favreau actually met with George Lucas, and so he kind of got his blessing on the project, which is different from some of the other things that they've used.
Right.
But in most cases, I think this is what's going to really please fans because they stick closer to the original trilogy and it's more familiar for people. I'm just really excited about the whole idea that it's, the man with no name, this Mandalorian going out there, and he's got his blasters. He's all out there. He's got this really cool cape. His costume's amazing. They had it at the D23 pavilion or the Disney Plus pavilion at D23. So that show is going to definitely be a driving force. It actually premieres on November 12th.
November 12th.
When Disney Plus drops, it's going to be there.
Perfect.
They're not,
and you know that the Story Geeks will be talking about that. So you've got to know that because I'm more hyped for that than I am even for episode 9.
Nice.
Just because I just think it just fits a lot of what I really, really like. So anyways.
So the other thing too with The Mandalorian is it's not clear yet whether it's going to be every week they're dropping an episode or if it's going to be binge watching.
Oh, really?
I think they have the content. It's just deciding, hey, what's going to happen with it. They've also already greenlit a second season of it. So they
really?
Yes, they already. I believe they already started filming a second season. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I know that they have a second season in the works.
Okay.
They also have on the Star Wars front. They're also going to have what is it? Cassian Andor, if you remember him, and K2SO from Rogue One. They have a prequel series that they're going to be doing.
That sounds awesome.
They also, what was the other series? Oh yeah. They had the announcement of Obi-Wan. That's coming on the
Kenobi series. And people, I would say that some people are most hyped about that more than anything.
Yes.
So for me, it goes Mandalorian episode 9, very quickly after that. And then probably Kenobi after that, I think. But those are 3 phenomenal announcements.
Yep. And for those of us who really care, they will also have Star Wars: The Clone Wars having its final season on Disney
Oh,
Plus
that's right.
as well.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I believe
yeah.
that's it's early next year.
Okay,
So
okay,
it's still the animation takes a lot of time.
Coming up pretty fast though.
And you'll notice that was one of the first indicators to me during the panel when they were talking about some of the stuff where they don't have footage. So for this panel, it was a lot of, hey, here are the stars, but we didn't necessarily have any footage about.
Besides, they showed the trailer for Mandalorian, and that's pretty
much it. They had a few series. They had a few different films that they've been working on. They showed Lady and the Tramp, which looks really nice.
Oh yeah.
So they'll have several of these live action films that you would normally say, oh, this is going to go on the big screen. Think the Pete's Dragon remake that happened recently, or Christopher Robin. These smaller Disney remakes and reboots that they're deciding to put on the streaming service instead. So when you go to the movies, it's only going to be the blockbusters.
Wow.
For Disney, the distribution of films, even if you're going to be looking for a smaller film, it's going to be on Disney Plus. They're not going to put it in theaters.
I wonder what the budget on those films is. I have to look that up.
I'm assuming around 100 million, maybe less.
So still big time budget.
Yes, it still looks like it's film quality. A lot of the shows that they were showing, it's kind of a mixture of that because it is being done by the studio side more than the channel side of things. So it's not ABC television quality. It's done by the studios.
Okay.
Because they're trying to be that Netflix competitor.
Yeah.
Another thing they talked about was Marvel and the Marvel shows.
Yes.
So they announced most of them at Comic-Con.
Yeah. So what did they announce at Comic-Con? They announced Falcon and Winter Soldier.
They announced
WandaVision.
WandaVision, yes. And they talked about WandaVision at D23.
Okay.
They were making comparisons between the Dick Van Dyke Show and the MCU. So it was kind of like it was this weird, creepy flashback between the Dick Van Dyke Show.
No way.
And so they were showing this footage, and this is the tone that we're going for.
Yeah.
And on stage, they brought all of these different side characters from all the different MCU movies.
No way.
You know, Agent Jimmy Woo from Ant-Man and the Wasp. They had just different characters they were bringing. It's Natalie Portman's friend from the Thor films.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she was brought on stage.
Oh,
and,
no
I don't
way.
even remember these characters' names or anything like that. But they were all Darlene,
something along those lines. Those lines.
But they were bringing them up, and so it's interesting that show is really going to tie deeply into the MCU, because it's setting up for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. You know, with Wanda and her ability to bend reality, who knows what's going to happen? And she's dealing with her grief and trying to bring back Vision. Another show they talk about was Loki, the Loki series.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And the Loki series is really going to be intriguing based off of the whole, like, it's like a separate timeline.
And it's Loki having got the Tesseract.
Yes.
Right?
He has the Tesseract. He's able to, teleport around. It also seems that he's going to be using more of his shape-shifting abilities. So that way it's not just, Tom Hiddleston having to do everything. It sounds like they're going to have several different actors filling in the role of Loki over the course of the series. The other show that they had for Marvel was What If, which
animated, right?
Animated, yes. With basically, it's going to be 23 episodes for every single film in the MCU. They have a What If.
Really?
Yes, they have a What If episode for each one.
I didn't realize that was the kind of the format for it. But what I did like what I heard at D23, and you probably were there for it, or at least more familiar even than I am. But I loved that. I believe that's the series that Agent Carter is showing up in.
Yes, Agent Carter. In this case, it's a what if on what would happen in Captain America: The First Avenger if the bomb had gone off early and everybody was wounded or killed, and so the only person who was still up and could possibly hop in Super Soldier thing and chase after the Nazi running away was Agent Carter.
That's
and
epic.
Thus they don't want to call her Captain Britain because they don't want to upset Captain Britain fans, which apparently there's some that exist. I'm not trying to hate or anything like that, but I wish she was called Captain Britain because it would make more sense. But instead, she's Captain Carter. They also in that series have Steve Rogers. He basically gets a Iron Man suit from Howard Stark. So he's wearing an Iron Man suit.
That's awesome.
And then she is riding on his back, sort of like Big Hero 6 style, like just riding on his back. And I'm like, it's such a good image. I can't wait to see that series. They also announced Moon Knight.
That's right.
Series that's coming out. It was Moon Knight. It was Miss Marvel. And then
Ms. Marvel. Yep. Ms. Marvel.
What was the third series?
The third series was She-Hulk.
She-Hulk, yes, that was the final drop, which is intriguing based off the Universal rights, and they can't do a movie, but I guess they can skirt around the lines doing a television show, and then thus put these characters into the MCU, which you have to factor in that all of these things are in the MCU. They count just as much as the movies do. The quality is going to be the same.
Yeah.
The budget is insane for those series. It's the same as a movie.
Absolutely.
So you're going to be looking at these events, you know, versus something like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. These events are going to affect the MCU.
Yeah.
They matter. So it's something that really draws people like me into subscribing to Disney Plus.
Oh, totally.
Last thing I want to say about Disney Plus is they actually had a deal for D23 members. I believe it was like $4. It ended up coming down to where you would basically be spending like $4 a month for the service versus the $7 a month.
The deal that it is, even $7 a month, that's half of what Netflix is charging, half of what HBO is charging. It's pretty ridiculous.
And part of that too is the fact that everything is PG-13 on the platform.
Yeah.
And so Disney's bundling it with ESPN Plus and with Hulu. Hulu being it's more, you know, for more mature audiences.
Yeah.
Which is really weird because they had like apparently like Handmaid's Tale costumes at the Disney Plus Pavilion. So it's like that sort of weird thing where things are getting a little weird.
Yeah.
You get a little Hulu in my Disney. And
we're getting like
not sure how we like it.
We're like throwbacks to Touchstone.
Exactly. Yeah. Weird things going on.
I'm gonna adjust your microphone just slightly.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a case where, you know, they had this deal for D23 members, and you could actually, I think, I don't know if it's running again today or if the deal finally ran out. It was a few days after the convention.
Wow.
But you could just subscribe to Disney, to D23, which is like its magazine and it's the fan community that you're kind of paying to be a part of.
That's epic.
And then you got this deal. Kind of, I did that. You're actually signing up for 3 years of the service. So it's like a contract.
So you got to be a little bit committed.
Yeah, you're committing 3 years of the service. You're getting $23 a year off of the service, which basically comes down to
3
almost,
months.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, actually, you know, more than that, because
a little bit more than
$7.
Yeah.
If it's $7 a month, then you're bringing down, which brings the overall price down to about $4 a month. So for some of us, it's really worth it. If we know we're hardcore Disney fans, we're there for the massive amount of content.
Oh, totally.
You know, they're opening the Disney Vault, so it's everything that they've ever released, basically.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, they already have it for another, if it's already on a cable service or it's already on Netflix, which when those deals run out, they will all fold into Disney Plus. So it becomes a better deal over time. They have all the Star Wars films. They're going to have most of the Marvel films. It's, you know, they're getting everything together.
That's awesome.
Moving along. So that was Friday.
So wait, before we can move on, I want to hear what are your kind of like the top 3 things you're most excited about related to Disney Plus?
Definitely the Mandalorian, and then Star Wars: The Clone Wars, because that's for me it's like I grew up watching that show. It was sort of like it's weird with that show compared to the other Star Wars cartoons they've done where they're more definitely leaning towards the kids, and that's because it's been on like Disney Channel and stuff. Yeah. Versus before it was
super
Cartoon
high
Network.
Quality, very interesting animation style. Because a lot of 3D animation these days is like it's okay, but the Clone Wars 3D is phenomenal.
Oh yes,
yeah.
And the other thing too is you're dealing with something that's it's matured with this audience. So by the time you're looking at it now, it's going to be like, I mean, with the show, it started out and it was like, oh yeah, it's innocent enough, and then you eventually got to a point where every episode, at least several characters had to die. You know, it's a war. You know, it's that sort of a thing. And I was like, okay, then, like that's what you grew up watching. But it's definitely Mandalorian, Star Wars: The Clone Wars, and then just the Marvel shows in general, having that sort of integration where we
you wouldn't pick a specific Marvel show.
No, not really. I mean, I'm excited for What If, dramatically so, because it is kind of like the Twilight Zone meets.
right.
Like that's kind of how they're pitching it. I forget the name of the actor who's voicing. He's voicing one of the Uatu the Watcher. He's voicing him.
Oh no way!
And it's the guy who was on Westworld, who was doing. Oh my goodness!
The guy, is it the same? It's not the same guy. Is it older or younger actor?
Older. So
it's Ed. Is it Ed Harris? Ed Harris?
No. I'm looking up his name right.
Anthony Hopkins?
Nope.
Okay.
No.
Is it the African American guy?
Yes.
Oh, I don't know that guy's name.
Exactly.
That guy's amazing.
Pull it up. He's amazing.
That guy's
a
awesome.
Fantastic actor, and that's why I'm like trying to look at.
Yeah. I can't remember his name. He is a really good actor, and he's narrating as the Watcher. That's perfect.
He is the Watcher. Jeffrey Wright.
Jeffrey Wright.
There
you go.
Oh, I can't believe I forgot his name. But it's the sort of thing where he's voicing the Watcher.
Dude.
I'm just really excited for that, and like having them play with it, and all the actors are returning to voice their roles.
Yeah.
So it's going to sound just like it's going to sound and kind of feel just like you're watching an MCU movie. It's just condensed and.
So for me, I think I'll give you my top 3 things.
Yes.
Mandalorian. I think if you made me choose now, have they confirmed if the Hawkeye is going to be a show?
Yes, Hawkeye is a show.
Okay.
That's actually taking place before the other 3 that they announced at D23.
Perfect. Then I think I would say Hawkeye. The Hawkeye show is probably my in my top 3.
Yep.
And then the third thing, I mean, I think it's pretty hard to beat when I think about the fact that the entire vault is going to be on Disney Plus. That's kind of like my third. So you said like all the Marvel shows. I'm like, dude, all the Disney movies, like,
everything.
Crazy.
So you remember some random Disney film from your childhood? While I was waiting, for these panels, you often wait in the basement of the convention center for like 4 or 5 hours, just lying down or doing whatever. We were playing like some Disney games and stuff like that. But they actually had like Aristocats up on the screen in the background. I was like, how has it been a decade since I've watched that? Like, how deep into my childhood did I last watch that movie?
That's
and
awesome.
for me, it's just like, wow, like all of the content, all of these random films that I don't remember these, but it's like, or, I remember watching this when I was younger, but like, when did I last watch that? And you watch it and I'm like, look at the animation, like, look at the quality of it. Like, I'm getting new things because now that I can appreciate the art of it.
Totally.
Real quick, before we move on to the cinematic panel, when it comes to Hawkeye, that series and WandaVision, I believe, are both setting up like the Young Avengers characters. So you're setting up the next generation of heroes.
Kate Bishop is going to be on there.
Kate Bishop, you already had Cassie Lang aged up with Endgame. They've already cast her as an actress.
Crazy.
And she's stature in the comics. So you have all of these different characters that are going to become the next generation of Avengers.
Wow.
If you're looking down the line in the MCU of the next like 5 years, you could definitely see some of these actors returning, and actors and actresses to play these roles and become another generation. And we'll get back to the Avengers later on in our discussion.
Come back around.
There's more to talk about.
All right.
So that was Friday.
Okay.
The next day, Saturday, the biggest panel of them all, it always is. This is the Disney Studios panel.
Okay.
Which this year was even bigger due to the fact that it had not just the studios like Lucasfilm, Marvel, and Disney Pictures themselves, but it also included Pixar. It included Disney Animation.
Whoa.
They had to mention Fox, but they had to pack this all in 2 hours. So Fox, they were really quickly like, yeah, we have all this stuff that's happening, but we can't talk about it. Show the Avatar logo. Yeah, we're still thinking about Avatar, guys. We built a theme park. We built a
whole land
for it. Yeah, so we have to do stuff. But also with Fox, real quick, they're working. Their main series that they're working on is Aliens Predator, and Planet of the Apes. Those 2 franchises are continuing. So at this point in the franchise, you're looking at Planet of the Apes. It's going to be the Planet of the Apes film. And then afterwards, you're going to be talking about, Beneath the Planet of the Apes and all this other crazy stuff, which these movies were like really B level films.
Totally.
And now they're elevating them with Andy Serkis and making them just phenomenal pieces of art. The other thing that they're going to have is Disney Plus shows that they did announce beforehand. They're going to be doing, I believe the big one is Night at the Museum is getting rebooted for Disney Plus. As a show.
That's awesome.
So that'll be intriguing. Then Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker, showing off that sweet footage with Rey, Dark Rey, Dark C-3PO. Everybody's turning evil. The red eyes are everywhere.
That was crazy.
Yes. I have a little bit of.
Were you in the room for that?
Oh, I was in the room for that.
Okay, so did it go just bonkers?
Oh no, yeah, people were losing their minds. Like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And I'm one of those people where I'm gonna take these things a little bit more literally. Like I'm not saying it's a vision. I'm not saying it's anything. It's possibly that.
Yeah.
But at the same, like somebody slowed down the footage and you can actually see that like it looks like there's Rey's robes on the very right side of the frame. Like it looks just a tiny bit and a tiny bit of the bottom of her lightsaber. So you're like, it's probably Rey standing there, and then it's this other character.
Some people are calling it a clone.
I'm actually subscribing kind of to the clone theory.
Okay.
And part of that is I think the Knights of Ren might actually just be clones of Rey. Or like they might all be like Rey is a clone and they're all grown by the Emperor. And
you know what also would support that theory is that when she's in the cave and it repeats all of those people.
Yep.
I've always thought like, well, what does that mean? I've interpreted that in the past as meaning that when the Force needs a hero, it builds one. And like that was like the Force building all these heroes. But you could easily say, no, Palpatine is just building clones. So that's crazy.
That's as far as the whole thing too is anything that's happened in the entire saga, all of these films, they're all getting wrapped up in episode 9. They did talk to George Lucas about like, hey, what are these? We have this moment in this film. What were you thinking about here?
Yeah.
If they couldn't find it in some other book or interview, they were trying to, ask him because they wanted to, how can we tie everything together in this one movie, end it all? And that film apparently was like 3 hours, the last cut that they did of it. So it's like, they're really like, it's everything. Like, it's going to be so good. And for J.J. Abrams too, this is like the first time that he's doing a final film in a trilogy, really. Like, he always starts franchises. He's never really ended it.
Yeah, he doesn't end them very often.
If you've watched any of Patrick Williams' videos on YouTube, he has one where he's like watching, I forget, one of J.J. Abrams' like series on TV where he actually had to end it. And it's the sort of thing where it's like, that's the only other time that he's ever had to actually make a conclusion. And so it's like, he loves the mystery box. But what about when he is put in there and he has to actually say something? He has to have a message. So it's gonna be really interesting to see that.
That will be fascinating.
So showing all that sweet footage, I'm really excited about that. Massive fleet of Star Destroyers in lightning.
That's right.
Oh my goodness, all the rumors about the Sith fleet and all these plans. I mean, in the books they established that Emperor Palpatine had 150 contingency plans for when he died. All of them activated after his death. Partially to take revenge on anybody left in the Empire who, you guys all failed me. So, everything that you have, I'm making sure that none of you get to rule, which is interesting from in the expanded universe where the Empire was left to itself and it was sort of like, the remnant and it was just everybody kind of falling apart versus this is like ever since then, the First Order, that's one of his contingencies plans. It's actually known as the Emperor Palpatine's First Order.
That's crazy.
Was to create the first order. It's like, that's it. That's the establishment of it, which is amazing.
Yeah. He's working backwards. He's like Order 66, Order 65, First Order.
First Order. Yeah, that's his First Order.
Yeah.
It's funny because those I just want a shirt that just has all the orders.
all the orders. That would be an awesome shirt. I love that idea.
I'm just like, there we go. Oh man, like if any of you have played Battlefront 2 in the campaign, Operation Cinder, that's one of them, blowing up not blowing up, basically just melting the surface of these planets. And just like, wow, that's all that infrastructure you just invested in.
Yeah, seriously.
Then we had Marvel with its, just covering all of these different films they kind of announced briefly. They showed off the entire cast of the Eternals along with them in costume, which is
I saw that. Yeah.
They had Black Panther 2 that they announced. And then what's the name of the director of Black Panther?
Ryan Coogler.
Ryan Coogler came on stage. Kevin Feige pulls out the treatment for Black Panther.
Really?
2. He pulls out the treatment and he goes and he's like, hey, do you want to reveal the title? Do you want to reveal the release date?
No.
Like going over all these things. And he's kind of like, no, not yet. No. And I couldn't really tell if it was a bit or not. Looking at him, I could tell Kevin Feige was ready to announce stuff. And it seemed like it was not a bit like legitimately Ryan Coogler wasn't really interested in revealing everything. I'm like, oh,
well, especially if he's in the process of maybe even making some changes. You know what I mean?
That's what I think. Is it's sort of like, maybe not, guys. Maybe not yet.
Right.
They also revealed footage from Black Widow. And they talked.
I haven't seen that yet. Like that. Has that hit YouTube yet?
No. Black Widow, all that was exclusive to D23. Most of the stuff they showed. So this is the difference. Disney Plus panel, they didn't really have a lot of footage to show. The Disney Studios panel, while not covering, I was expecting them to announce new films. It wasn't really announcing new films. It was really covering everything that's already been filmed or is in the process of filming. So it's really more in the next 2 years, like what's going to be happening.
Got it.
Which for me is it's the sort of like, I wanted to hear about what Jon Favreau's working on, Magic Kingdom. I wanted to hear about like these different films that are on the horizon that that could be developed.
Right.
Then next they talked about Jungle Cruise. Which is
now, how high are you on Jungle Cruise?
Jungle Cruise, I'm pretty stoked after D23. I mean, beforehand, I'm like, cool, you're trying to basically do the Pirates franchise over again. They talked about that. Like, it's the same thing that happened to Pirates of the Caribbean. It's the ride or it's the concept of a Jungle Cruise and then elevated with mystical elements.
Right.
And in this case with the Jungle Cruise,
kind of like Tomorrowland too.
Exactly. It's all in that same vein. It's the theme park built in, which I have a soft spot for Tomorrowland. As much as I wish it had been accurate to its trailers and been the Harry Potter for sci-fi nerds, it was not that. It was a road trip film. So you have to appreciate it in that vein. Right. But that those few minutes that take place in Tomorrowland, amazing. Anyway, back to Jungle Cruise. Dwayne Johnson comes out. He's actually holding on to a Jungle Cruise boat that has been put on wheels and is driven into the convention center. He's coming in. He's all excited. He's wearing his costume. He goes on stage. They show a trailer that's very rock centered and rock focused.
Yeah.
And then when they're showing the like names in the trailer, it's like Dwayne the Rock Johnson in massive letters, and then Emily Blunt in tiny letters.
Nice.
And then, you know, at the very end, he's like, yeah, we made a movie where, you know, the guys get to like save the girl sort of thing. And then Emily Blunt comes on, you know, on stage, you know, being driven in a Model T Ford sort of car, like an old school car.
That's cool.
And then she comes out, she's like, but that's like not really the trailer. Then they show the trailer and it's the opposite, where her name's really big and Dwayne's is like
that's
tiny.
Cool.
But so then
it looks funny too.
Yes.
Okay.
They literally do the backside of water joke. It's kind of like the opening of the movie. It looks like it's going to be The Rock runs a business that is the Jungle Cruise, where he's driving people through a tiny little bit of the jungle that he's built.
Okay.
So it's the sort of thing of like he built all the traps, and they have all the natives, like all the cannibals that are there.
No way.
And it's the sort of thing that he's paying them to do this, like they're all actors, which is sometimes when you're on the Jungle Cruise, they'll do that. And you're just like, okay, guys, it didn't work this time. Like, you know, the skipper will like, all right, guys, like bow down in shame, you know, or whatever it is.
Right.
Or, oh yeah, they're, you know, they're doing a Hamlet or whatever it is. Like,
awesome.
Yeah. But it's a case where it does look funny. It does look entertaining. I have a few friends who actually apparently watched some of it or something like that.
Oh, really?
Like people who worked at the Jungle Cruise, they got to like talk to them.
Exclusive series.
Oh yeah, fun
exclusive
stuff.
Behind the scenes stuff.
Oh yeah. But it's a case where I really do think it'll be good. I don't know if it's going to be able to start the franchise that they're hoping. They're hoping that this is the next Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
And the theme parks have laid out the path for them to do this, which is basically the Society of Explorers and Adventurers, which is representative, especially in Disney Sea.
And I love that mythology.
Oh, yeah. It's basically Monty Python like level humor mixed with Indiana Jones, and it's perfection. It's beautiful. You can look it up on your own time, but it has all this great stuff. Then they talked about Maleficent, Mistress of Evil, Angelina Jolie. It's great. And she actually came out earlier to a standing ovation, which lasted like a minute or something like that.
Eternals.
Yes. Yeah. And then she didn't really get a standing ovation from Maleficent. You know, no one I don't think is super stoked for that film. Right. It's one of those movies that it warranted a sequel. It's going to be I'm worried it's going to be the same thing with Aladdin. And they're already talking about it with Lion King, where it's like, we're just going to make sequels to these films because they made $1 billion.
Which originally was like not a Disney thing. He was like, we're not, well, at least Pixar especially. But I think even early on, Disney was like, we're not doing sequels. So it's kind of interesting that they're going in that direction. But they can make a ton of money doing that.
Then they showed off a clip from Mulan, which looks beautiful. There was a little amazing. It has weird timing to it, but I think that's just a director's choice, and it's sort of you're dealing with a different culture as well. So they're filming for China. Like this film is being made and aimed at the Chinese audience, but it's still going to take a step into our nostalgia for the animated film. It's using it doesn't the musical numbers aren't happening in those films. There are reshoots, and there were rumors that they were going to add it in based off of fan feedback where they're all like, but I really want to hear the music. and for me, I don't need that because the original tale is epic enough, and the way they're filming it, and it's sort of like they only shot it in China and then New Zealand. So you're looking at Lord of the Rings level of action with
now. Are they making this a more realistic take, or are they like are they still gonna have like Mushu and like that all that?
They don't have Mushu. What they do have is for the like the Mongol hordes, like the barbarian hordes. There is actually a witch character, which you remember the falcon that's on the shoulder of I forget his name, the villain from Mulan, like the falcon that's on his shoulder is supposedly a shape-shifting witch.
Oh no
who's
way.
Like kind of controlling things and stuff like that. Like
so there's a fantastical element of
exactly. There's a shot in the trailer where this bird is flying away, like the falcon's flying away, and Mulan's chasing the falcon, and that's basically it.
Oh no way. That's cool.
And so we'll see. I'm really excited about the epic action of it. It's going to look amazing. If you've ever seen any concept art that was done for Mulan, you can tell, like you can see what they're going for. It's like, we want to really blow you away with the scale, the size, the bombastic nature of this. And it'll be really interesting. It's going to be the first time too that you're seeing a Chinese focused film, like probably getting embraced by American audiences versus something like The Great Wall. Right. Which, But you're seeing these films that are very, primarily based in China, and then they're trying to bring them over here. Then finally they revealed Emma Stone in Cruella, which is kind of following in the steps of Maleficent. Here's the Disney villain. We're going to talk about them and kind of do a backdoor reboot for 101 Dalmatians, which we'll see. I don't know how that film's going to do. It almost looks like it would be something better served for Disney Plus than in theaters, but that's semantics. Something that they didn't talk about, which I'm still like hoping is a thing, is James Mangold's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea reboot.
Dude, James Mangold's going to do that?
He was attached to it. They announced that like a few years ago after he did Logan. And his current film is, they didn't show any footage from it, but Ford v Ferrari, which is being done for Fox, and that's coming out this year. Afterwards, he has nothing he's attached to besides 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea for Disney. But again, If that's 2 years down the line, Disney's not talking about it.
Yeah.
Next was Pixar with 2 films, Onward and Soul, both of which non-established IPs, true Pixar films. Onward, they showed like 8 minutes of it.
Oh, wow.
And they did like the whole gimmick of the film, which I don't want to spoil here.
Okay.
You can find it online. It's Chris Pratt and Tom Holland
combo.
together as elf brothers in a fantasy suburban story. So picture our reality today, but instead there are no humans. It's elves, orcs, dwarves, like goblins, whatever. A lot of magic in that film. It just looks spectacular. Next was Soul, which is basically this jazz pianist who, you know, he's finally gets his big break. He's like a teacher.
Oh, cool.
But he finally gets his big break, and he's going to teach at this, or he's not going to teach. He's going to perform at this really big jazz club in Harlem. And he gets the gig. He's all excited. He's walking down the block. He's like, you know, he's walking through traffic as it's going past him, zipping past, like he's almost going to die. And then he walks under, like he's walking by construction, and then bricks fall right next to him. And then he's walking through the street and he falls into a manhole and dies. Like a manhole, like he falls in and dies. And there was that sort of like abrupt, like, what are you doing?
What's happening here?
And this movie is basically like, what happened? Like, why am I here in this world? What happens when I die? Like, it's answering massive sort of questions that we all have, which is really, I mean, that's what Pixar does. But to this degree, I've never seen them do it. And it's the sort of like next step beyond something like Inside Out, where and it's also from the same director, Pete Docter, which kind of makes sense. But it's all about your soul. And it's like, this is really interesting.
That's a fascinating concept.
It's like, it's weird and trippy, and it just has this amazing look to it. Jamie Foxx is voicing the main character.
Nice.
Let's see, Jamie Foxx,
super talented.
They have the rest of the cast that was listed somewhere here. But anyway, it looks amazing. I'm really excited about it. It's going to be pretty spectacular.
That's awesome.
It really does have one of the best casts as well.
And we are coming up on time pretty soon here. So here's what we're going to do. Just really quickly, you still have some more news to go over, right?
Yes, I do.
So go through the news like bullet point style, and then we'll just wrap up with a little bit more of our feelings about what we really loved about D23.
Absolutely. So continuing on Walt Disney Animation, they had Raya the Last Dragon, which is a fantasy epic story told in the fictional world of Kumandra, which is like basically based on Southeast Asia. I grew up there for 4 years in Indonesia, so it grabbed me instantly. Then they showed footage from Frozen 2. They had 2 different musical numbers that they performed on stage. Well, they had one that they performed on stage and one that they showed to us.
Wow.
And it really looks like they're going dark with Frozen, and they're going action adventure. Like they're really gearing towards that and aging up with their audience, which is going to be intriguing for the franchise. Seeing like, hey, where does this go? Does this really grab people more than the first one did? And does it prevent fatigue from Frozen fever, which is my big worry, because, you know, they don't want to build a Frozen attraction in Disneyland. They don't want to really go too far into Frozen because they're afraid they're going to make people upset. It's like they're already pushing it hard enough. Then they had the parks panel on Sunday, which there are only a few big things that I want to talk about when it comes to the parks panel. First of all, they talked about Star Wars. They revealed the full trailer. They had a little bit of it earlier in the year, which had Millennium Falcon, but the full trailer that had Millennium Falcon and Rise of the Resistance present in it.
You just had me watch this before we started recording.
Epic attraction. It's going to blow people away. It's that sort of like, we're showing you the next generation of Disney rides here, and Galaxy's Edge hype is real. Just today, this morning, they opened it in Florida, where the wait time for Falcon got up to 390 minutes.
Crazy.
Yeah, people were waiting overnight. It was insane. They opened the park at 5 a.m. to get people in, just to get people in.
People still love Star Wars.
Star Wars is back in every way, shape, or form. Like, it never really went away, but, you know, I think the backlash is over. When it comes to Disneyland, I'm going to kind of focus on what we got here. They announced, they already had announced Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway is coming, which is the first Mickey-based attraction. It'll be based in the El Capitan Theater, which will be built in Toontown.
That's cool.
The queue's going to have stuff from the, it's called the Hysterical Society or something like that. It's a historical society. Then next, let's see. They talked about a lot of like other stuff when it came to overseas parks. They also had a Target promotion, which is really like, oh my goodness, you spent 20 minutes of my parks panel talking about Target. It didn't really feel good. And finally, we got back to Marvel, where they're talked about, which is now officially named the Avengers Campus, coming to California Adventure in 2020 in the summer.
Really cool artwork.
Oh yeah. The first attraction to open up there, already they technically opened up the Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout. The next attraction is going to be Web with Spider-Man. It's it's called the Worldwide Engineering Brigade,
Oh,
and
that's
Spider-Man.
cool.
It's like they're developing these like little nanobots.
Yeah.
And then the nanobots break free and they're loose in the attraction, and you have to go use your web shooters to shoot them down. It looks like the ride is similar to like Ninjago from Legoland or whatever it is,
okay.
where you're actually
so it's interactive.
You don't have control, like
Okay.
you don't have like physical controls. You don't have some trigger that you're pulling. You're gonna put your hands out there and thwip just like Spider-Man. It's gonna be amazing.
Cool.
Then they had a Doctor Strange experience that they're gonna have there.
Nice.
They're not sure whether it's gonna be kind of like Jedi Training Academy, where
right.
you put on you buy the little sling ring for $20 or whatever it is, and you wave your hand around in a circle, and you open portals to other dimensions. Who knows what they're gonna do? It's probably gonna be something like Harry Potter, I assume. Then they have the PIM test kitchen, which is going to be like big foods are tiny on your plate, tiny foods are big on your plate, sort of a gimmick.
That's awesome.
Which is going to be very entertaining. And then they announced the Avengers Wakanda Quinjet attraction, which is an e-ticket. This is a big ride. Apparently, you're going to be like, you basically board a Quinjet, you sit down in these chairs, which are jetpacks, and then you're going to fly through the Battle of Wakanda.
Dude.
And you're going to fight alongside the Avengers. I don't know how they're pulling it off. It looks like magic. The concept art is insane. I'm like, what is going on here?
That's awesome.
Just, I'm just going to really, if they don't have some sort of interactive element there, I'm still just going to be pretending that I'm Thor and I'm shooting lightning from my hands. I'm just going to do that. Then finally, let's see. There's one other Marvel thing to cover, which was with Epcot. Epcot was the focus of the big parks panel. Big deal that they're finally getting back to futurism, fixing some things.
Right.
They are bringing IP into intellectual property into Epcot, which they already started with Frozen. The big attraction that they're going to be opening up is going to be Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. It's a Guardians of the Galaxy roller coaster, free spinning. It's Bob Chapek, who's the president of like the Parks and Resorts sort of part of Disney. He kind of was talking about it as the storytelling coaster. He kind of pitched this, and this is the next generation of roller coaster for Disney, where they can face the guests in any direction, no matter where the car is going. It's like free spinning.
Oh, that's
but
cool.
It's actually controlled spinning, so they can angle you towards screens. They can give this sort of slip-in sliding effects of Guardians of the Galaxy when all the ships are flying, where it kind of seems like they're like going through water or something, like they're gliding. It's that sort of an effect that you're going to get. It's also a reverse launching coaster.
No way.
So you're going to go backwards and then up into the building. And this building is, you can see pictures of it online. It's massive. Big, It's like, apparently they joke about the fact that it's the box that the Epcot ball came in.
nice.
I was like, there we go.
Okay, so here's what we'll do.
That's it. Yeah,
we'll close it out. I'm sure there's a little bit more, and we can do another podcast about it later. But I'm just running up on time because I gotta get it. 2 more people in the studio real quick.
Yep.
Here's the last thing I want to hear is, what was from the D23 Expo, what was sort of like your premiere experience that you were the most excited about happening?
It was definitely just overall being there for that cinematic panel for the Disney Studios panel, because they always show stuff. They show it's all exclusive. They don't really reveal anything. They revealed the Rise of Skywalker stuff online because of hype. And you want to see Rey with that double-bladed flip-out lightsaber. You really want to see that because it's amazing.
Yeah.
And all the ideas. It makes us speculate again, which is just what Star Wars needs. But in general, like, that is always like the greatest thing. You get really ingrained into Disney. And just overall, being at D23, if you are a Disney fan, if you're a Marvel fan or a Star Wars fan, it's the convention to go to.
Yeah.
It is a little crowded sometimes, and Disney fans are crazy. We all are crazy. But it's just an amazing place to be. You're surrounded by fans. You're waiting in a line. You get to talk to somebody next to you. You don't know them previously, but you have something that you can relate to and have a conversation.
And you had some coverage. Say again what your Instagram is before we close out.
At Freddie from Batu. Again, BATUU. That's Twitter and Instagram. Feel free to contact me. Ask. We can debate things online about D23. We can have conversations.
This guy loves Disney a lot.
Oh yeah.
So if you love Disney, be sure and check out his stuff. I've got to turn around to another podcast. Freddie, thanks for coming out. Appreciate you, buddy. Talk to you guys later.
See you. That was good. We actually did. We got through that.
We did. We